concept of angina pectoris now. So angina pectoris is a chest pain due to imbalance between oxygen demand and the heart of the heart and the oxygen supply to it via coronary vessels, and it is characterized by sudden severe pressing substernal chest pain because uh, the cells of this myocardium, that is heart, get die or get a necrosed due to the decreased oxygen supply, and this decreased oxygen supply leads to the necrosis of the myocardial muscles, and the cells of that area, particularly heart myocardium, get starting to die, and this leads to the necrosis in the heart, and this leads to the pain that may be sometimes a very sudden severe pain in the chest, and the person feels like it occurs like heart attack. But there is a slight difference between the angina pectoris and the heart attack that you must keep it in mind. Heart attack also caused due to the imbalance between heart oxygen supply and necrosis of the myocardium, but that is not recoverable. Myocardial infarction is what the heart get contracted in a specific situation, and it again there is no dilation, that is a heart attack. But in angina pectoris, only the decrease in the oxygen supply to the heart leads to the pain, and that pain could be sudden, and after some time it get disappear or diminish when you take a rest. And this is the difference between the angina pectoris and the myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarction could not be reversed by the taking rest, but angina pectoris can be reversed by the taking rest. So let us proceed further. So the next is the types of angina pectoris, and you might come to know about the three different types of angina pectoris from earlier video that I have shared in your group. So types of angina pectoris. First one is the classical angina, that is also called as the stable angina, and this occurs due to the atherosclerosis of coronary arteries. So I think you are very much know and well known about the atherosclerosis condition of our coronary arteries, where the fatty sticks get uh, deposited in our blood vessels, and this causes sometimes causes the blockage, and we can say the proper supply of blood could not reach to the our body, means heart, and that may use the pain like sensation, and this is turned, and we can call it as a stable angina. The most so stable angina is the most common, that is the 90% is the chest pain caused by the temporary inadequacy of blood flow to the myocardium, and it is about 15 minutes, last for 15 minutes only. That can be provoked by the exercise, stress, extreme cold and heat, heavy meals, alcohol and smoking. So these are the trigger factors. Trigger factor means they may uh, give the chest pain by performing exercise, stress, or extreme cold and hot situations can cause the classical angina condition. And the word you must understand here, that is about the temporary inadequacy of blood flow. So temporary inadequacy means for some time, for some time your myocardium is not receiving the proper blood supply due to the excess demand of the heart. By when you are performing the exercise, your demand heart blood supply demand is increased, and at that time it is not getting the that amount, and this causes the classical angina or stable angina condition. After, if you are feeling this type of angina, you can take rest, and this will uh, vanish and diminish. So underlying cause of this, usually the occlusion occlusion of the coronary arteries by atheroma. Atheroma is nothing but the fatty streaks that takes place inside the coronary vessels, and that narrows the blood vessels. So second, uh, you can see the second type, Prince metal angina, that is a spontaneous coronary artery spasm either at work or at rest. So the difference in this, you can see this can occur at work as well as at rest. Means when you are sleeping also, you can get the chest pain, that is called as the variant and metal angina. So these are unrelated to physical activity, heart rate and blood pressure. So this type of angina is called as the variant and metal angina. The third one is the unstable angina, that is a we can say the progressive uh, chronic angina. Means here you will not get a sudden chest pain as that of the classical angina, but when your blood vessels are about majorly occluded and there is a problem to blood supply and demand is not fulfilled, then you will get the unstable angina. So here you can see the underlying reason is the rupture of atheromatous plaque and platelet aggregation at the ruptured plaque. Means in coronary vessel, if there is a injury occurring and this injury allows there the deposition of atheromatous plaque and blocks the flow of blood towards the heart and causes the unstable angina. Now let us move towards the next point. What is our therapeutic approach? What is our therapeutic goals to use the anti-anginal drugs? Once we have understand the pathophysiology of angina, we have to decide how we can get rid of this angina. So the therapeutic goals, the aim of our treatment shall be to reduce the cardiac workload and metabolic demand. Means if you are getting the angina, what are the two sides we have to understand? We have to take the account of our हार्ट वर्कलोड. मीन्स हार्ट पे कितना वर्कलोड आ रहा है, वो अगर हम कम करेंगे तो ये जो इम्बैलेंस बिटवीन ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई एंड डिमांड है वो हम बैलेंस कर सकते हैं. तो कार्डियक वर्कलोड हम कम करके जो बैलेंस कर सकते हैं वो एक थेरेपेटिक एम है. और दूसरा है मेटाबॉलिक डिमांड पे ध्यान देना. देन द नेक्स्ट इज द टू इंक्रीज द परफ्यूजन ऑफ द हार्ट मसल. सो हार्ट मसल की perfusion means nothing but the increase the blood supply. So how can we increase the blood supply? We can increase the blood supply by increasing the dilation of the coronary vessels. This dilation will lead to the higher blood supply towards the coronary myocardium. Then to prevent the myocardial infarction, this is very much important therapeutic goal of angina pectoris. And I have uh, tell saying you about that there is a slight difference between angina pectoris and a myocardial infarction. You will not understand what is it. It is a myocardial infarction or a angina pectoris. So we have to prevent the conversion of angina pectoris into the myocardial infarction by getting the treatment on right time before it is turning into the myocardial infarction. So different organic nitrates, calcium antagonist, beta adrenoceptor antagonist can be used. Then lipid lowering drugs which can uh, lowers the forming of the atherosclerosis in our coronary vessels and will give you the higher space to blood flow. And antiplatelet drugs um, like aspirin to reduce the possibility of thrombosis in the coronary arteries. So this is the therapeutic goals of angina pectoris treatment. Then which strategy we have to follow? The first we have to increase the blood flow toward ischemic heart muscle. Ischemic heart muscle means what? Ischemia means, okay, we have in the last 10 minutes now. So before finishing our lecture, we have to take the attendance. So I am sharing the link on our chat box. Go and fill that form. So here you can see therapeutic strategies we are discussing. So two therapeutic strategy we have to follow: increase the blood flow towards ischemic heart muscle, means the heart muscle which are having ischemia, means receiving the less blood supply, is called as the ischemic heart muscle. And we have to decrease the myocardial oxygen demand of the heart by decreasing the work performed by us, means the patient should not take the exercise and shall take the rest, so that our heart will not get any more workload. Then anti-anginal drugs, the nitrates, nitroglycerin, isosorbate dinitrate, then beta blockers like propranolol, metoprolol, then calcium channel blockers, like verapamil, diltiazem, nifedipine. Then next is the potassium channel openers, nicorandil. Then others like aspirin. This is the one of the uh, platelet antiplatelet drugs. Then dipyridamole. So if you are having facing the anginal attack, how we can terminate it? We can use a nitroglycerin sublingually. Sublingually means below the tongue we have to place this tablet, and within 2 to 3 minutes we will get the rid of the anginal attack. Then another drug, isosorbide dinitrate, can be used as a sublingual way. Then for chronic prophylaxis means when we are having detected with the anginal problems, and it is occurring for a longer period now, so then we have to follow the nitrates plus beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, and potassium channel openers and other drugs in combination for the further treatment. Okay. Then in that video I have described about the mechanism of action of our nitrates. So here you can see the nitrates which are acting on the smooth muscles, and that releases the nitric oxide. This nitric oxide increases the conversion of GTP to cyclic GMP. This cyclic GMP increase will convert the myosin light chain phosphate to myosin light chain. So this myosin light chain phosphate in presence of actin causes the contraction, and increase in cyclic GMP converts this complex into the myosin light chain and causes the relaxation of the heart and decreases the workload on the heart. And this increase in the relaxation increases the arterial venodilation and increases the blood flow towards the heart. So here you can see the pharmacology of this drug nitroglycerin. When we are taking sublingual tablet, it will show the uh, onset of action within 2 minutes, while the duration of action is 25 minutes. Oral sustained release tablet will give onset of action up to 35 minutes and use the duration of action 4 to 8 hours. So isosorbide dinitrate also having similar type of action as that of the nitroglycerin. Pharmacological actions, then this is the mechanism by which our nitrates going to act here on the vascular smooth muscle. They are decreasing the preload, then in, reduction in the afterload and redistribution of coronary blood flow. Preload means the blood is which is flowing towards the heart, that is reducing, and afterload means the blood flowing after from the heart towards the systemic circulation. So both decreases, and the workload of the heart decreases, and that will leads to the prevention and rid of the angina pectoris pain. So second is the dilation of capacitance vessels, by which we are decreasing the preload. So this is the flow chart by which we can understand easily how the preload get decreased. Decrease it decreases the oxygen demand. The next is the arterial dilation causes the decrease in peripheral resistance and decrease the afterload and decreases the cardiac work. And the next is the relaxation of coronary arteries that gives the higher blood flow towards the ischemic heart and will get rid of the angina pectoris. Then therapeutic uses we also saw, and the nitrates can be used in the treatment of angina pectoris. There are the different forms: sublingual, oral, transdermal, intravenous. Then in the congestive heart failure and acute left ventricular failure, we can use the uh, nitrates. In the myocardial infarction also intravenously we can use the nitrates. In cyanide poisoning, we can use the nitrates. Let us see few of the adverse effects of nitrates. So when we are using the nitrates for treatment of angina, we facing the flushing of face, throbbing headache, postural hypotension and tachycardia, palpitation, weakness, dizziness. Then sometimes tolerance has been developed to the nitrates. Next is the calcium channel blockers, and I think all you knowing the calcium channel blockers. So calcium channel blocker itself name itself indicates they are blocking the calcium channels which are present in the myocardium and relaxes the myocardial tissues, because calcium channels are actually having function of contraction. Increase in the calcium in the heart causes the contraction, while decrease in the calcium in the heart causes the relaxation. So by blocking the calcium intake inside the heart, we are relaxing the smooth muscle of the heart muscle and decreases the contractility in cardiac muscle and decreases the pacemaker activity and conduction velocity, and we will get the relaxation of the heart. Ultimately we will get the decrease in cardiac workload. Then verapamil is the one of the calcium channel blocker that can be used in the treatment of angina pectoris. Then diltiazem, nifedipine we can use in the angina pectoris, hypertension, arrhythmia. The next is the adverse effects of verapamil and diltiazem: nausea, constipation, bradycardia. These are some common and very simple adverse effects to understand. You can understand it by reading from the book also. So find out the meanings of this bradycardia. Bradycardia means decrease in the heart rate. Then there are some new anti-anginal drugs are coming in the market now. They are called as the metabolic modulators like ranolazine and trimetazidine. So find out these drugs on Google. This take it as an exercise for your today's lecture or homework for today's lecture. Find out the mechanism of action of this ranolazine, and trimetazidine, and the second direct bradycardic agent ivabradine. So make a uh, find out the mechanism of action, adverse